So now it's been several days since the Nashville shooting, and many more of the ongoing details have come in, which means we're going to know a lot more about it now than we did when it initially happened. And I wanted to put that off just a bit for two reasons. Because first, I wanted to let Red Peg and Nicole say something first. I think it's important that the trans community say something about one of their own first before everybody else. So I thought that it'd be fair to do something like that before I responded, and I wanted to wait until more facts were in. Now, as you'll recall, in the shooting, 6 people have died, 3 children, all of whom were 9, and 3 adults, 2 of whom were 61 and another who was 60. And this shooting occurred by a trans person on an evangelical school, Presbyterian, but Presbyterians are evangelicals. And this was, quite frankly, the absolute worst thing that a trans person could do. This is really only going to make things worse. Now, I'm not alleging this is like a false flag attack or anything, because there's no evidence of that. But it's just like, this was like the absolute worst thing a trans person can do. Now, automatically, this person clearly was in some kind of mental distress in some form or another. Nobody just wakes up and just says, I'm going to shoot children because reasons. Clearly there was something very mentally wrong with this person. Because there is no, they shot them because they were trans, which is exactly what many people are trying to say. Nobody just shoots somebody because they're trans. That's not a real thing. That doesn't really happen. Now, of course, this person, Audrey Hale, was killed by the police when they entered the building. And yes, I've seen the original footage of the actual shooting by the police. And for once in a school shooting, the police did not actually hesitate. It took them only 12 minutes to get there in full gear, and then Then they went into the building and confronted the shooter without any hesitation or fear or anything like that. Like, they actually went in and did their job. Kind of weird. Now, I do want to deviate a bit on something, because I love when the media covers any kind of shooting, because they suddenly forget what guns are. And apparently for the major networks, there's nobody at any of these multi-billion-dollar corporations that know what a gun is. They said the Nashville officers, who should know better because they are trained to identify these things, at least 2 assault-style weapons. Okay, there is no such thing as an assault-style weapon. You either have an assault rifle or you don't. There is no in between. There is no assault-style weapon. No, this isn't real. This is not a thing. An assault rifle is an automatic weapon. An AR is not. There are some ARs that are automatic and some that are not. Like it's really infuriating how the media literally just doesn't know the difference between an assault rifle and a semi-automatic rifle, because for some reason it takes a goddamn genius to be able to figure that out. Well, obviously it's very clear that this is a deliberately manipulated viewpoint. The word escapes me at the time. To try to justify the banning of guns, make guns seem as scary as possible, like calling an AR an assault rifle because AR, even though, Armalite is the manufacturer, but why let that get in the way? So it's just very frustrating to have to deal with this kind of dishonesty while children are dying. And then when you point out this kind of dishonesty, it's like that's the bad guy because you're the one not sticking to the topic of children shooting. Because the media, particularly the liberal media, won't stick to the fact that guns are an inanimate object. They can't shoot anybody unless someone picks it up and makes it do it. Because what it is that they don't want to deal with is the fact that Americans do want to shoot each other. It would be a hell of a lot easier to just ban guns and have society be more stable that way than it would be to actually deal with the alienation and mental illness in America that's causing these shootings to begin with, which would be very expensive and socially intensive to deal with. But that is very typical of the liberal establishment, to take the easy way out of a problem that is far more complex. And that's not even to necessarily say that conservatives have any solution whatsoever, because they don't have any solution to this. Now, it has been confirmed that this person did go to this school. Audrey Hill did go to this school and went to this school during a time when there were sexual abuse allegations. So I would not be surprised if Audrey Hill had been sexually abused by the individuals who had been accused of that. That would actually be a rational explanation for why somebody would act so irrationally. But it's interesting. This person causing trauma among all these children, but nobody's calling this guy out. No one's going to the child predator and saying, this is your fault because you were the one who caused trauma in so many people. And in this case, it ended up in a massive tragedy. No, we don't know absolutely for certain that the shooter was traumatized by one of these people. But this largely to me appeared to be a trauma response. A horrible one that shouldn't have happened, a completely incorrect one, but is one nonetheless. But nobody wants to hold the child abuser accountable. By all means, Audrey Hill should not have shot up a bunch of children. Should not have shot up anything. But to sit there and basically say that Aubrey is the only person that's responsible here is not entirely true. There's been a very long history of the holier-than-thou religious being the abusers just about more than anyone else. And in that fact alone, they should be held more accountable. Okay, one of the things also that was very interesting was the fact that people were trying to say that Audrey Hale shot up the school because Audrey Hale's a biological female who identified as male and was receiving hormone treatments and was receiving testosterone as a result, and that the body could not handle that amount of testosterone, so therefore they went up shooting the place. Well, I could tell you this, I probably have more testosterone in me than Audrey Hale does, and I've never shot up a place. In fact, upon even a most basic, small amount of research, you can tell that this was not caused by testosterone. Hormone therapy didn't do this. Out of the decades that this kind of procedure has been done, there has been no indication of there being mass murder tendencies among people who have received hormone treatment. Going either way, going either male or female. It just doesn't happen. There's not enough there to cause someone to want to do that. Okay, this goes along with that kind of idiotic conspiracy theory that if you drink soy milk, suddenly you'll become more feminine, when there isn't that much estrogen in soy milk to begin with. Literally, there are women who have hormonal disorders or are going into menopause, etc., that say, okay, doctor, can I just drink more soy milk and get more estrogen? And the doctor will say no, because that will not make any difference whatsoever. But regardless of, medical science, still people running around thinking, oh, soy boy, you drink soy milk, therefore you're more feminine, and it's all part of a conspiracy to make men less masculine, and whatever kind of goddamn nonsense they've got going on there. It's the same kind of pseudoscience. I can't even call it a pseudoscience because it's not based on science at all. But you know what I'm getting at. It's this completely nonsense interpretation of science to try to blame other people for essentially their own situation. The same old thing, anything but capitalism. Sort of, kind of thing. Now, this is the part that particularly perturbed me. A certain message board intentionally created these flyers that said the day of trans vengeance, where they're going to go out and to get back at the evil cis people, etc., and have fabricated this entire conspiracy of a plot to kill cis people on a day that doesn't exist. Okay, some right-wing piles of garbage people went out and created a bunch of fake flyers and created a fake thing about there being a trans day of vengeance, just to demonize the trans community. It doesn't exist. There was no such thing as a trans day of vengeance. This was wholly and completely fabricated by a certain message board, and I think you know what one I'm talking about. And then this was picked up by disreputable attempts at media like Ben Shapiro, and then he goes around tweeting it at the mainstream media saying, well, why isn't this being covered? Why is this being censored? Because it's not real. Because it's a fraud created by people who are as right-wing as you and dishonest as you. So, if you come across this, know that it's not real. This is complete and utter bullshit. This was because I saw the thread where this was being created. Someone showed me where it was, where they were actually plotting this to create this whole fake trans day of vengeance thing as some kind of scare tactic to make society fear trans people more than they very clearly already do. So I'm not falling for this. You should not fall for this. Even the mainstream media is not falling for this. Now, Ben Shapiro is, but then again, given how dishonest he is, he probably knows it's fake and is going along with it anyway. There's very real problems in America why people want to shoot each other. One was done by a trans person. The vast overwhelming majority were done by right-wing idealists. The fact that you could think that you have to ban trans people over one shooting when there is an astronomical amount of them over right-wing ideology and not want to ban that is kind of nonsense. If anything could show a lack of ability to critically think, this would be it. So, far be it from this kind of anti-cis conspiracy theory that they're trying to push. There is no such thing. There is a very real problem with American society that people do want to shoot each other, and that is the very thing that society should be focusing on. It's not enough to just say, oh, okay, we'll just put more mental health services. You're putting a band-aid on a stab wound. You have to find out what's causing the stabbing to stop it. But they're not going to do that. They're not going to take a look at, they're not ever going to just Google the word capitalist alienation and see what that is. They will not even look The fact that they cannot even look shows the absolute level of dishonesty that these individuals have. And that shows they have no intention of trying to solve the problem. But that's the same old liberal way of dealing with everything. A crooked CEO sells off a medication that's infected with AIDS to Latin America, Europe, and Asia. By the way, that was Bayer that did that. And then turn around and say, and fine them less than what it is they made off of selling the tainted medication. Well, don't worry about the corrupt, evil capitalist that's, killing people. Just regulate them more, and then it won't be a problem. And that's their answer to everything. Never actually deal with the problem. Never deal with the source of what it is that causes the problem to begin with, because that would require you to investigate the very fundamental nature of capitalism itself, the very inhuman nature on which the entire system is based, and they will not do it. Which I guess is still better than a conservative, which will just pretend the problem doesn't even exist, or that the problem is somehow not a real problem, or even be an ANCAP and say that there is no problem whatsoever, that people will just choose not to go with the manufacturer that just murdered them, or some stupid nonsense like that. The point here is that no one within the liberal sphere will deal with the very fundamental nature of what causes this problem. And that is the system itself. And they will do everything to avoid that. They will champion trans people right and left. But will they fundamentally do anything about a system that oppresses them? No.
Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.